I want to tell you a little bit about my husband, Richard Cordray. Richard was born on May 3, 1959, at Mount Carmel Hospital in Columbus, and he grew up in Jackson Township, just outside of Grove City. Richard is the middle of 3 boys. His brother Frank is a year older, and Jim is 2 years younger. I think that the Cordray household was pretty extraordinary, but also pretty typical of many Ohio families. Richard's dad spent his career working with the developmentally disabled, directing the social, educational, and athletic programming at Orient Developmental Center. Richard's mom, like so many of us, juggled a wide variety of jobs, being at home with the boys, teaching, social work, and volunteering in the schools. I think that Richard's love of public service must have started with them. His dad, who has been legally blind since birth, never let it stand in his way, but he always had a deep appreciation for the hardships that others are coping with. Richard's mom, I think, gave him tremendous drive and enthusiasm for getting things started. She started the first foster grandparent program in Ohio, which brought together children in need with seniors who had the time, attention, and love to offer them. Richard's mom and dad were all about family and education. The boys played lots of sports. Jim was best at track, but Frank and Richard loved basketball. Their mom was constantly trying to bulk them up, regularly making them milkshakes laced with raw eggs. Unfortunately for Richard's basketball aspirations, he didn't get a real growth spurt until he was a freshman in college. Academically, Richard's mom and dad had very high standards for the boys and expected them to meet those standards. Richard's mom died of breast cancer before I met him, but from what I've heard, she was a total partisan for her children, always rooting for them, always believing in them, and always expecting the very best from them. Richard has this beautiful collection of posters that she made for him. After every big win, whether it was in a basketball game, a high school in-the-know quiz competition, or whatever, he would come home to find a victory poster on his bedroom door. Richard's mom believed in hard work, and she believed in education. All 3 boys did fabulously well in school. Among them, they have 9 advanced degrees. But even more impressively, they gained this great love of learning and curiosity about the world. Richard's family was not particularly well off, so he worked to earn scholarships for college and graduate school. He won full academic scholarships to Michigan State University, where he graduated summa cum laude, Oxford University in England, where he earned yet another degree with first-class honors, and the University of Chicago Law School, where he was editor-in-chief of the Law Review. After law school, he had the rare honor of clerking on the United States Supreme Court. In fact, he's one of only a handful of people who have clerked for 2 Supreme Court justices, first Justice White and then Justice Kennedy. I met Richard in Washington, D.C. I had just graduated from Berkeley's law school, and we were both clerking for judges on the Federal Appeals Court before Richard was to go on to the Supreme Court the next year. The first time I saw him, I just knew that he was out of the ordinary, and I was so right. Richard is interested in everything. He's happy to talk on just about any subject because he either knows something about it or is trying to learn something about it. And his mind is so sharp, anything that goes in stays there. Which brings me to Jeopardy! The year we met was the year he was a 5-time champion on Jeopardy! To me, what was most impressive about his achievement was how he got there. In the months before he was to be on, he studied and practiced and studied even more.
In 1762, Ben Franklin was given an honorary degree by this English university. Richard.
What is Oxford?
Oxford is right also for $200 more. Suppose it was appropriate that Richard Cordray would come up with a correct response on that last clue we had regarding Oxford University, because this man received a BA at Oxford, is that right?
That's right. Thank you, Alex.
You were there on a scholarship program?
Yes, from the British government. It's called Marshall Scholarship Program.
I see. Now, is it true that at Oxford they have a special dress code for exams that's different than here in America?
They do. It's quite a bit different. I had to wear a white shirt, a white bow tie, a dark suit, a dark gown, and a black hat to exams for a week consecutive.
I see. Well, if you were getting married on the same day, it would do double duty. Nice having you with us on the program.
Over the years, I've realized that it was classic Richard. Whenever he has a new challenge, whether it be competing on Jeopardy, running a campaign, or launching a new policy initiative, he throws himself into it, working incredibly hard to be sure that he does his best. We were married in 1992. We bought our home that year, not far from where Richard grew up, and I started teaching at Capital University Law School. In politics, Richard had his ups and downs during the next several years, but he was doing great work as a lawyer, serving in the Attorney General's office as Ohio's first state solicitor, and arguing 6 cases before the United States Supreme Court. And of course, in 1998, everything turned up for us because our twins, Danny and Holly, were born that year. In 2002, Richard was elected as Franklin County Treasurer. Our children, who had just turned 4, were under the happy misimpression that he had been elected the Franklin County Treasurer. It was in that office that he had his first real opportunity to put in practice his vision for how government should work. Richard believes that government should work in partnership with individuals, local leaders, and businesses to solve problems and improve our communities. When Richard started as Franklin County Treasurer, he made sure that the office was operating effectively and that it was responsive to the people that it was serving. He had people call the customer service lines to make sure that callers weren't just getting voicemail and weren't being given the runaround. He also instituted new procedures so that the office performed more efficiently, things like processing the tax checks immediately and going after delinquent taxpayers, all of which brought in millions of extra dollars for the county. And as Ohio Treasurer, when the foreclosure crisis hit, he built a broad coalition of public officials, nonprofit groups, community agencies, and for-profit businesses to match up families with community resources to keep them in their homes. With this vision of government, Richard has accomplished much that is positive for our communities and our state. I am so proud of all that he has done.